Ray Higdon, he started out in corporate America, but quickly realized he was missing out on the most important thing in his life, family. Father of four, he decided to make a change, which led him to a network marketing company where he became the #1 earner. Today, he's a network marketing trainer, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. In addition, he co-hosts the Meet the Higdons podcast with his wife, Jessica. Their company has been named to the Inc. 5000 list as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. Welcome, Ray.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Ray is a good friend of AYR. He's one of our clients, and we're so excited to chat with him today because he's got a lot of really great stuff to share with you guys. He's built his career around being a master speaker and getting out there and really sharing his story and training others to do the same in all different platforms and mediums. So I'm excited to dive in, but interesting story about how you got started. So tell us a little bit about what made you decide to make this shift. What were you doing in corporate America, and then how did you transition over into a network marketing company?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different stories there, but I think for the purpose of this audience, I think I'll share my speaking experience. I don't know if you know that story or not, but so I had worked my way up in the corporate world and was making pretty good salary. And I remember my boss asking me to do a little update for the department. And I'm like, what do you mean update? And they said, well, just, get up in front and, prepare a presentation or something. And she's saying it nonchalantly. And I had never done this, and it terrified the hell out of me. And so I'm like, wait, like speak in front of everyone? And that was like my biggest fear. And so I didn't sleep for 3 days. I read The Idiot's Guide to Speaking. I read The Dummy's Guide to Presentation or Presenting or something like that. And I almost just quit the job. Like, I was so nervous and so scared to present in front of others that I just didn't want to go in. And so my hand was on the phone. This was back when you had a landline, right? And my hand was on the phone. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I'm just going to call in. I'm going to be sick. But then I'm like, they're going to make me do this. And so I go in, and one thing that was prevalent in every speaking book I'd ever read was they don't know if you mess up. Like, if you forget something, they don't know, right? The audience will never know. I clung to that. And so I go and I do this presentation, and I somehow develop a stutter. I spilt water all over my shirt, all down my pants. But I was done. I'm like, whew, man, thank goodness. But afterwards, and this boss, her name was Maggie, she asked me to come in her office. And to this day, I've never had a boss that I looked up to as much as her. Like, she gave me a chance when I wasn't experienced enough. And she really, I just really looked up to her. And so I go in there and I'm wondering, like, is it going to be good, bad? I wasn't sure, because this was how, goofy I was. And she asked me, Ray, are you on drugs? And I'm like, So those books aren't always accurate. Sometimes they do know when you really screw up. And so I was terrible. And so I remember sitting in the car afterwards, and my hands are on the steering wheel. I was back then I drove a Hyundai Sonata. And I had this forest green Hyundai Sonata, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I'm just like, I'm just not coming back. I mean, now these people know how dumb I am. They know that I'm, not good. They know that I'm, I got to a position I didn't even deserve. So I got all this stuff going through my head. But then there was another voice that said, you got to overcome this. And so the next day I enrolled in college, and I said, put me in any class where I have to speak in front of the room. And the, facilitator or whatever, she said, wow, that's weird, because that's usually the last class people take. And I'm like, put me in all of those. And so she put me in strategic thinking, speech, of course. And I think there was one other class where I had to get up. And of course, it was pretty terrible in the beginning, but I got over that fear. And, I think the largest audience, live audience, like actual people, right? I think the largest audience was in Louisville, about 23,000 people that I've spoken in front of. And so, it's kind of wild. I did end up leaving the corporate world, went into real estate first, got wiped out from that, and then went into network marketing and found some major success with network marketing.
That's awesome. So speaking, did you feel like learning to feel more confident in speaking is what made you interested in real estate and network marketing? Because you had that experience kind of getting up in front of people and not pitching, but sharing whatever information you were supposed to share. Or how did that come about? Was it just more of like the industry was attractive to you? I'd love to hear more.
So speaking didn't necessarily have exactly to do with real estate or really any of the choices after that, but it was the confidence I gained by tackling that fear. Because by tackling that fear, I realized, man, I'm more powerful than I thought. I can overcome stuff. And it gave me the confidence. I left that job, maybe 2 years later, something like that. And then I went out on my own probably 3 years after that. And so it was that I look at that moment, and that was a big fork in the road. Like, that was either I shrink and just say, I'm not an overcomer, and I play as small as I had been playing, or I went this way, which led to all kinds of wild things. I remember irrationally, because at the time I was actually working for a county government. I remember irrationally, I went to this Microsoft convention in Vegas because I was in the IT department. And I remember setting an irrational goal of one day I want to speak on the Vegas Strip. I'm working for county government. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm working for county government, not in Nevada, right? I mean, I'm in Florida. It makes no sense. But I set that as a goal. And I think it was like 2 years I spoke at Planet Hollywood. And so speaking wasn't necessarily the thing. It was overcoming my fear. It was overcoming that gave me that made me make all those decisions to completely change my career and go in a different direction.
Wow. Well, I mean, any speaker that gets paid to speak will eventually be speaking on the Vegas Strip. Maybe not this year, but
Right.
definitely in the future. That's awesome. So tell us about kind of like your journey in network marketing. I know, like, when we talked before, sometimes there's, network marketing can be kind of like a dirty word to some people because you're like, oh, like when you're introduced that way, but it's made a lot of money for a lot of people and had provided a ton of opportunities for countless people, especially right now with everything online and all of that. So tell us about how you grew through the ranks yourself and what you found along the way that has led you to now being one of the biggest trainers for people who are in this industry.
Yeah, and it does have a bad stigma. And I know that, some people, they hear that and they're like, oh God. I remember when Russell Brunson asked me to speak at one of his masterminds, and he was like, and I'm gonna have my buddy Ray Higdon speak, and he specializes in training network marketers, and you could almost hear the groan, like and so I got up and I just shared a couple things. One thing that I wish more entrepreneurs embraced is that a lot of people that go into network marketing were a hairstylist the month before, were a mechanic the month before. A lot of them have never read a book on psychology or sales or business, never watched Shark Tank. They don't get Entrepreneur, Forbes, Fortune magazines. They are, because it's so low risk and so low overhead, you have an extreme amount of untrained individuals that don't know what they're doing. They don't know what hype even means. Like, they don't know that their approach is really terrible because they haven't been taught a different way. And so there's a few things about network marketing that we really love. And I no longer actively build a team, but I work with a lot of companies and work with a lot of leaders. Right now I have one leader that brings home over $1 million a month, and that's not volume, not funny math, but actually $1 million a month. I have another leader that has, as a client, has 750,000 people in his organization, probably 5 that have over 100,000 in their organization. And we coach and we intimately coach in our mastermind about 50 6 and 7 figure earners in network marketing. But network marketing on the whole is the lowest risk, lowest overhead way for the average ordinary person to start a business. You have people in business that would never buy a franchise because they just don't have the money. They would never start a restaurant because they don't have the capital or the know-how or the connections. And this is something that it really is an amazing infrastructure. It's an amazing profession. And I've seen people go from, truck driver to millionaire. I've seen people go from mattress salesman to millionaire. I've seen people go from homeless to millionaire. So the possibility is incredible, but it often gets overshadowed by these non-trained individuals that are out there making promises or, they just don't know what they're doing. Now, network marketing is an amazing gateway drug too, because not everyone stays in network marketing. I mean, how many people learn from Jim Rohn? Well, his number one profession that he worked the closest with was network marketing. A lot of people learned from Jim Rohn and applied it to their insurance business or applied it to their real estate business or applied it to, fill in the blank. I mean, I was just reading his, quotes, yesterday. And so it's an amazing industry, an amazing profession. And as a speaker, it's actually very intriguing because if you look at all the other industries, so look at internet marketing, right? What events do you have out there that are, pretty big? You got, traffic, you got Ryan Dice's event, right? Which gets, 3,000 to 5,000 people. You get Russell Brunson's event that gets around 5,000 people. You look at Tony Robbins. I mean, he runs some big events for sure. Network marketing every month has an event with over 20,000 people in it. Now that's pre-COVID, but now these are virtual events that are still very, very large. So as a speaker, it's actually pretty intriguing. And you can be in front of some very large audiences very often. It's unlike any other space that I'm aware of the masses gathering for that. And so, we don't go out there and say network marketing is better because I don't think that's the right language to use, but it is an amazing option for people that otherwise would never start a business. They would never invest in real estate. They don't have the know-how for other businesses, but they can afford a couple $100 to start a home-based business. And with, the pandemic and everything, there's a lot of people looking to make extra money from home that used to do the gig economy, that used to do Uber or used to do something else. And now they're like, dang, I don't even want to go out. I want to make money from home. And network marketing is a great option for that.
It's wonderful. A lot of people, I think, assume when they think about network marketing, they might think about like supplements or beauty products, but it really spans a lot of industries. Is there any industries that's like kind of surprised you that have come up out of network marketing and that, are really, innovative or doing something that, isn't what people would assume is falling under this category of network marketing?
I mean, I've seen some awesome ones. I have a client right now that is in a cryptocurrency network marketing company, makes a lot of money. I spoke for a company that they are they're public adjusters, and so they will go to homes and negotiate insurance claims, and they have such a humongous success rate. And then their people earn a percentage of that. Like, that's really innovative. That's really cool that they have these teams of people that, after a hurricane or something like that, they will go into that area and negotiate with the insurance and always get more than what the homeowner would have negotiated. I've seen, obviously CBD has been, very big in network marketing and health and wellness and beauty and all these different things. But it's incredible, like the different industries I've seen thrive in network marketing.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really opened up my eyes. It's just how many industries this touches, how many people are involved in, and like you said, the huge amounts of audiences and that they generate for their events. I kind of want to circle back to what you're saying. You said you've seen people that have gone, from truck driver to millionaire and others that have had just great success. What do you think differentiates them from the others, the untrained folks who are getting into the business who never really make it up the ranks? What, in your experience, helped you advance, and what do you think is really kind of what makes those folks successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to do with a few things. I would say the number one killer of someone who could be successful in network marketing is they seek acceptance, approval, and agreement. And this is really, it's a little bit different, but it's not that much different from just starting a business. You know, when I wanted to leave the corporate world and I went to people I respected, looked up to, et cetera, and said, yeah, I'm going to go into real estate. I mean, I remember my professors like, what, and throw away your career? That's dumb. Like, this was someone I really respected and looked up to. He said, you'll be back. And so many people were like, well, what about the benefits? What are you going to do about benefits? And so, I mean, I wasn't even going into network marketing. I was going into real estate, which is, you know, it doesn't have as much of a stigma, I don't think. And yet people were trying to talk me out of that. And so if you're someone that is always seeking the acceptance, approval, and agreement of those around you, then you're probably not going to make it in network marketing. You got to be willing to, to move forward without acceptance, agreement, and approval. And so, you know, I mean, I used to tell people when I, started in network marketing, I'm like, listen, I'm going to do it with or without you. I'd love to do it with you. If you're open to it, great. If not, no big deal. And that's just how I rolled. That was my posture. Didn't care if they thought it was a good idea or accepted or approved or agreed of it. That didn't bother me. So I would say that's the number one killer of someone who could be successful. And the real key to those who succeed is, just like any business, really, it's consistency. So, the quick question here is, and this is any business, not just network marketing, but does your daily method of operation make success inevitable? And that's a very specific question. If I keep doing what I'm doing every single day, does that make success inevitable? And if it's like, maybe if I get lucky, then that's not a good daily method of operation. So when I got serious about network marketing, I was on July 15, 2009, I decided I was going to do three things. Okay. I'd read a book called Go for No, and it's all about getting over your energy to rejection. Like, you're basically embracing rejection, being okay with it. And so I read that book and I'm like, you know what? This makes sense. I'm going to go for 20 no's a day. And so before my head hit the pillow, I had to get 20 no's a day. Now, I've heard salespeople say things like, well, I prefer a yes. Well, yeah, you do. I get it. But I've never met anyone that gets 100% yes. I mean, I've met NLP certified, gangsters of communication that don't get 100% yes. If they went for 20 no's, they would 10 times their business because they get a lot of yeses. And so it's an interesting thing that when you go for no, the more skilled you are, the bigger you grow. It's kind of wild. And so I went for 20 no's a day. I hated prospecting. I knew I had to do it because I'm dead broke. When I got serious about network marketing, that was after I lost it all in real estate. So I'm in foreclosure. I'm dead broke. I'm trying to sell my furniture. I'm being chased by bill collectors, and I'm over $1 million in debt. So it was not the ideal situation for, to be in your business mind, right? And so I hated prospecting. I did it because I had to, but I dreamed of a day where I would have people reaching out to me. And so on July 15, 2009, I dedicated myself to do at least one video a day, and I've never stopped. So over 11 years, I've never missed a day, whether my tummy hurt or it was raining outside or I was on my honeymoon. I did it before she was awake, right? And so I've never missed a day in over 11 years of doing at least one video a day. Most videos, today will be 5, I think. Most days are like 3, but not one day in 11 years of not at least doing one, because I dreamt of a day of funneling leads to me, getting people to reach out to me. And then third was self-development every day. And so back then, because I was broke, it was, YouTube and whatever library books and, free stuff I could get my hands on. And that transformed into, masterminds, mentorship, coaches, some courses. And so I still do that as well, as self-development every day. And so what is your daily method of operation? If someone just prospects every now and then they're probably not going to build a really successful business. If someone is, hey, I do this no matter how I feel, no matter if I want to do it or not, and they do that every single day, they will create success.
I love that. I think the three things that you're talking about, first sounds like mindset. Second is the consistency, but also discipline, like you mentioned. And then the third would really be the education part, the self-improvement, and actually, moving from, you could be a brilliant salesperson with charisma and not know that you're employing all these tactics. You move from unconscious competence to conscious competence to really bring your game to the next level. But I want to circle back to that first one. So how do you get people to adopt this mindset that it's okay to be rejected, and it's okay in shifting from that discomfort of rejection and failure?
I think, there's two things. There's two methods. One is sharing stories. I just actually found this while moving. I had written down some stories. So, Samuel Jackson was 23 years until he had a starring role. Harrison Ford was 13 years. AC/DC was 40 years until they had a top 10 hit. 40 years. Grateful Dead was 22 years. Springsteen was 16 years. Johnny Cash was 15 years. Bob Marley was 13 years. And so sharing stories of people that also faced rejection. I mean, Elvis was told to go back to driving a truck when he performed at Opryland the first time. They said, you need to go back to driving a truck, bro. And so like, if it was okay for them to be rejected, why is it not okay for us to be rejected? And so sharing stories is one of the most powerful ways. For example, we have a client that struggled in network marketing for 17 years, and her husband made her pinky swear that she would never do another network marketing company. She broke that pinky swear. She's now $1 million earner. She found some of our social media training and applied it and crushed it. She's now $1 million earner in her company. She's heralded from all the stages. They lower her from the ceilings and doves fly out. I mean, it's incredible. So if all these rock stars and amazing actors, actresses, musicians, etc., if it's okay if they got rejected, why is it not okay if we do? So that would be number one. And number two is to alter the actual approach. So most people that struggle in sales, they struggle because they don't understand prospect positioning. So if you're approaching someone, that is not the time to close them. It's the time to see if they're open. And so if you change your energy from, I got to close Blair, I got to close Tony, to, I just want to see if Blair's open. Blair, are you open and taking a look? No? Okay, no big deal. Right? If you just change your energy from, I'm trying to close people over here, to, I'm just seeing who's open, and whoever's open I'll move forward with, then you will just feel better about your journey, and you're not going to turn people off. Like if I'm trying to close someone, then it definitely feels like a rejection if they say, no, I don't want to do it, man. I know it's ground floor and patent pending and amazing, but I don't want to do it. Well, if I'm just saying, hey, are you open and taking a look? If not, no big deal. And they say, nah, I'm good. I'm focused on what I'm doing. I say, okay, no problem. Do you know anyone that does want to make some extra money? And so changing from attempting to close to just seeing who's open is a very powerful energy shift.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think people often are just trying to get to the end, right? Like, so in both of what you're saying, not having to face rejection and not having to, struggle too hard to get to that end goal. I love what you're saying about all the people who work so hard and then had faced all that rejection. I've seen these memes recently where they're saying, I'm so sick of these 30 under 30, 40 under 40 lists. I want to hear about the debut novelist at 70 and all that. And I think I love that. It's inspiring that there's no age limit on pursuing your dreams. But I think what people miss is that it doesn't mean you should wait. It doesn't mean you should wait decades to start, because that doesn't mean you're going to be successful just because someone else did it at 70. But so I think what I love about the stories you shared is like, it shows the people who kept trying. They were rejected. I think, they talk about Abe Lincoln lost like how many elections before he was elected to something, and a lot of these examples. So I love that. I think that's a great way to think about mindset and shifting that. When it comes to discipline and consistency, do you find that it's, that there's just a kind of a set regimen that really works across the board, or does it have to be really custom to what you're doing and what the product is and et cetera, like that? How much variance do you think there really is?
Yeah, I think this could certainly vary by position in a company, but if you are, there are two main ways to build a business: marketing, prospecting. that's the two ways. Marketing is passive. I do something I hope someone reacts to. So it's an ad, it's a billboard, it's a flyer, it's a Facebook status update, a Facebook Live, a blog post, whatever, right? I do something, hope someone reacts to it. Prospecting is you reaching out to an individual and seeing if they're open to your service, product, or opportunity. And so if you're a business owner, you need to at least have somebody doing that. You need to have somebody, reaching out and seeing if, your, target person is open to your product, service, or opportunity. And then you also want to be doing marketing. And the best type of marketing is information marketing, education marketing, et cetera. And so, we teach to put value into the marketplace. But what I found is that people don't really understand that term. It's been bandied around for, ever. We define value as, does someone gain something whether they purchase from you or not? So if I'm running a weight loss clinic, me going online and saying, buy one kit, get the second one half off, is not actually value. I mean, it's a coupon, right? It's nice and a promotion, but that's not actually value. If I go on and say, hey, here's a 7-day meal plan, real easy to make at home, here's the ingredients and the recipes, and I just teach that and they get that whether they purchase or not, that's value. And so are you providing value to your marketplace? Jason Fried, one of the founders of Basecamp, said, out-teach your competition. That's something that we really, really live by. And that, when I'm saying I do a video a day, it's an educational video. It's not just, hey, we got this for sale today. And I'm not saying not to do that, to ever, promote, because you should, but are you educating people? Would you follow you? Are you doing things in a manner that attract people to you just to learn from you? And so that's, the type of stuff that every business owner should be doing. I remember I spoke at a high school a couple years ago, and they would always bring in different occupations to speak to the class. And so sometimes it was a CPA, sometimes it was a realtor, and this one time it was a plumber. And I'm like, oh, cool, you're a plumber. All right, cool. And I'm like, so how do you get business? Like, what's your favorite thing? Do you network? Or he goes, YouTube. I'm like, really? How's that work? He goes, well, when I go to fix a problem, I always catalog how I fix the problem and I put it up on YouTube. And that's how I get so much business. People see me unclog a drain using whatever he uses, and people book me. And so I just don't believe that there's any business that doesn't benefit from educational marketing. And obviously, if you're a, Series 7 holder, or, doing financial planning or something, you have different restrictions and things, but you can still be educational. And I just think education is what wins in today's marketplace.
Yeah, perfect. And you segued right into the third one we talked about with the self-improvement side, and why it's important to educate yourself, and why, I'm sure some of the most successful people are the ones who've really, taken it upon themselves to learn and grow from others in their space, and find those mentors and coaches and training. But then turning it around and sharing what you've learned, like you said, is how you bring people to you. And I love that, we've talked about content marketing on this show before, but really not as much in the sense that it really should be educational. I love what you're saying about that. People assume you can't give away what you do. You don't want to give it away for free. You don't want to tell, like a plumber. I'm sure there's a lot of people who fix the drain themselves then, but there's probably a whole lot of others who say, great, you know how to do this, come do it for me, because I'm not really equipped, or I'm not really going to do that. So I love that. I love how they support each other. Yeah, go ahead.
And speaking of content marketing, a really, really simple concept that I talked about in the Rise Up World Challenge is ILT. So we came up with this concept called ILT, invest, learn, teach. So you invest your money or time to learn something, then you teach it. And this is something that we found can help anybody, like anyone can ILT. And so that may mean that I read a book and then I go on a video and I share my takeaways from that book. It's not plagiarism, because I'm giving them credit. Hey, I just read this book. It's amazing. Here's 3 tips from this book. And so what teaching ILT has done has taken people that maybe weren't experts or weren't gurus or weren't the, number one educated person in their field, and help them provide more value to their marketplace. And I know that anyone can do this. I remember my stepdad, who passed away, rest in peace. But I remember he watched he came over one day and he started hammering me on environmental facts. And he's a blue collar dude. Like, it just came out of nowhere. I'm like, this is strange. I've never heard him talk about the environment. And I'm like, okay, like, where'd you learn all this? He goes, oh, I watched a Matt Damon documentary yesterday. And I'm like, dang, he's ILT-ing me. He's never read a book. He's never read a book on business or marketing or sales or any of these things, but he can do ILT. Anyone can do ILT. And so we're just really, really big fans of teaching people that you don't have to come up with your own amazing Shakespearean work. You can, read an article, watch a documentary, read a book, and not one time have I remember attending Adventure Reaches classes, going up to Colorado and going through all your, I think I've been through every class you guys have, ever offer. You guys have my wallet on file. And, every time I'll come home and I'm like, all right, guys, I just came back from the mastermind and blah, 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 blah. I've never had someone say, just reading your notes, huh? Why don't you come up with your original stuff? Like, no, they appreciate it because I paid for it. They didn't pay for it, and they're getting a snippet of it for free. And so I've never had someone hate on me for sharing my notes from something that I learned from somewhere else. They actually appreciate it.
Absolutely, because you're doing the hard work. You're interpreting it from what really you gleaned and helping communicate to people who already speak your language. So I think that's the most valuable way to actually share information. I love that. And we had talked about how, a lot of times at these MLM events, the speakers are very, motivational. They might be very rah, energy driven, or very emotional, very like kind of tear jerking stories that kind of just both sides just to really evoke emotion. But we talked about how the content, like we're just saying, is really what's most important. And you want to make a connection with the audience. Of course, that's really important. That's what we teach at AYR, the story braid framework and connecting to the heart and head. But talk to us a little bit more about how you started to shape your presentations, knowing that content is really going to be the core thing that people need to walk away with if you're going to be making a lasting impact.
Yeah, network marketing is kind of known for, having rah events, right? Where they're, tossing around the beach ball, shooting out t-shirts, and it's a lot of you can do it, and a lot of stories, which are great. And I mean, there have been trainers that have built humongous businesses off, rah, flashy kind of stuff. And so we just wanted to do it differently. We wanted to actually alter the profession, not just meet it where it was at. And so when we started teaching scripts, when we started teaching exact follow-up strategies, exact closing, objection handling and closing, when we started sharing a Facebook Live formula, how to generate leads, people were like blown away. And it's an interesting reaction when myself or one of our speakers speaks for a company for the first time, because people are like, oh my God, that's what I've been looking for. Oh man, I thought you would just come on and tell your story and get us all fired up like everyone else does, but you actually said do this, 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 and this. And I think that's because we're so specific on, I'm going to share stories that get people fired up, but that's not enough. You have to also help the behavior, because if you just fire people up, then they're just going to go do the same concepts and strategies that they've been doing, which may be hypey and spammy and, and just not great. And so teaching actual, real strategies to help that behavior is very powerful. And that's one of the reasons that I believe we've created so much production. We actually track our production. So I have a membership group. It's $20 a month. We have about 14,000 people in there. And in the last 2 years of tracking, they've brought in 208,000 new customers, 49,000 new reps, and achieved 9,175 rank advances. Like, we're the only trainer that tracks production, and that's what we drive for, because I know that production in network marketing means families are impacted. And so you gotta give them the goods. You gotta give them what to actually do, because you may be the only person that's telling them that. Everyone else may be just hyping them and getting them excited and telling them a great story, which will keep them in the game. But if they're not using tactics that will increase their chances of selling and promoting, then that only goes so far.
Yeah. And being able to track that and having that data and those stats just really proves your ROI, which is something that's really difficult for speakers. I've been in the speaker industry for my entire career, and people have paid thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a speaker come. And it's always been kind of difficult when we have the conversation around like, well, what impact is this going to have on the organization? Oftentimes there's really no way to measure that, but you
Right.
guys have found a way to measure it. And that's incredible. That shows people really how this works, and that it's valuable content that is actually helping grow companies and, like you said, help families. So that's great. And we also talked, before about how does this relate to all speakers and speakers that you've coached. So I know you've coached other speakers, and not just in the network marketing space, because I think a lot of what you shared today can apply to anyone, who's getting out there and speaking, and just what they should think about and with audiences and promoting themselves. But what are some things that you've coached other speakers on, and what do you think that a lot of people maybe aren't as adept at, that you've really learned to master?
Yeah, it's, one, I learned, the person that I got the most succinct advice from in speaking is Pat Quinn. And I've been through a lot of speaking training. I've been through a lot of, different courses and VIP days and this and that. And Pat is absolutely incredible. So, that's so cool that he's so closely associated with you guys. I would say, a lot of times speakers, so I remember one of our events, our first $1 million speaking pitch. It was 2015, and we had 320 people in the room, and I was selling a mastermind. I had two levels. And so 320 in the room, sold it, and we sold $1.1 million worth of coaching in that, that one pitch, right? And I remember going to my sons were actually in the audience, and I said, "Hey, do you remember when I used to work at that insurance company, which was my last job that I had?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, we just made what I would have made in 12 years full time there." And he's like, "Wow, that's so crazy." But I remember when people started hearing that story, and I had some speakers reach out to me and be like, "Dude, how'd you do that, man? What can I get your deck? Can I get your, PowerPoint? Can you tell me like what is the pack? Can I see the contract? Can I see?" And so here's the thing. By the time I got to the presentation, a lot of people were just ready to buy because of what I did before the event. So the caring of people year round, not just when you have a pitch, is a very big deal. And so we provide value every single day. We pump value into the marketplace every single day. We share stories of success. We love people that are products of the product, and we highlight them. So when someone comes through one of our programs and they accomplish something amazing, we highlight them and showcase them. And so it creates this feeling all throughout the marketplace of, man, these guys have good stuff. So when you do that, you don't have to be amazing at your pitch. You have to have a pitch, because I think one mistake that some speakers make is they don't make enough offers. Like they just don't go to their audience enough and say, "Hey, would you like to purchase this, or you want to try this?" And so I think, just thinking bigger, thinking that it's not a grand slam home run because you have an amazing, presentation, but it's all those other things. How are they made to feel? I'll give you one example. So one thing that I never agreed with was I would see trainers that they would launch this new course, and the new course was whatever, $1,000 or $300, $500. And if you waited about 6 months, they'd put it on sale for $20 or $50, right? So like in my head, it's like, so basically you're punished if you're a fast buyer of theirs, right? Because if I see something I bought for $1,000 for $50, I'm like, why did I buy fast? So we just decided, since for 10 years, we just decided to do the exact opposite. So we may launch something to our audience, to our members for like, $30, and it'll go up and it'll go up and it'll go up and it will never come down. And so we have programs that we sell every single day right now for $197 that our fast buying members got for $27. And so like, I want to reward fast buyers, but see, all of that is part of a psychology of how do you treat the people that are in your community, that are in your tribe? Do you make them feel good and rewarded and like, man, I'm really smart for being a fast buyer? Or like, might I do this? How come I didn't wait? I should have. And so there's just a lot of things around that. How are they made to feel? How do you take care of them? How do you listen to them? We do a lot of Q&A, and all of that leads into making, you can have some errors in your pitch. You can have some not perfect things in your presentation when they know that you care and love them.
Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. I think people really neglect that beginning part of leading into events, or even just how they maintain relationships over time. But you're talking about an event that you put together yourself, right? This event where you sold $1.1 million in coaching was one of your events. So tell us about how you moved from working in network marketing and promoting other companies' events into now planning your own event, because you've got your big event this week. Depending on when you're listening to, you might have missed it, but hopefully you all caught it and are able to participate, or going to figure out, get some more content from that after. But tell us about, creating Rankmakers Live and how you guys transitioned into building your own events and generating that audience.
Yeah. So, like I said, July 15, 2009 is when I got serious about network marketing. And I had one goal. I wanted to become the number one income earner of that company. And so I'm, just working, going crazy. And I mainly use social media, which nowadays, that's like that's what everyone does, right? But 10, 11 years ago, that wasn't the case. And so I was kind of the black sheep of network marketing. There are a lot of trainers today that embraced social media, but back then kind of bashed it and said it didn't duplicate, it was too complicated, too technical. And we just believed that we could make it happen. We just see it as an extension of communication. And so became the number one income earner in that company. My wife joined a few months into that journey. She became the number one female earner. And, here she is. I mean, at that point, she was 21 years old. And I think 95% of her success were strangers on Facebook, because all of her friends wanted, tequila and partying, and they didn't want to do a business. And so she had to go outside of her circle and go recruit, cold messaging. And so we're rock and rolling, and companies and leaders started paying attention, and they're like, how are you guys doing this? Because back then no one was teaching it, and no one was doing it. And it was kind of like, ooh. And we would, think about this, we would have companies hire us to go speak at their event, knowing that we're number one income earners in a different company. Now that's rare. That's rare for that to happen, because usually companies are, very nervous about, someone stealing their people or something. But the desire for social media training back then was so high. And so we didn't intend to build a coaching and training business, but that's what happened. And so in 2016, just to fast forward a little bit, we have, our team is rocking and rolling. So we're making good money there, and things are pretty good. Our coaching and training is just off the hook. We just can't, it's just sucking up so much resources. We love both of them, but we had to make a choice. We felt like we weren't doing either of them to 100%. And I'm an all in kind of guy. Like, I like all in. I don't like being split. And so we decided in 2016 to go all in on coaching and training. We retired from building a network marketing organization and focus on coaching and training. And so with that, we had actually started doing events, smaller events in 2013. And it, it was amazing. It was, we were having a lot of fun. We were training not just our team, but people in all different teams, all different countries, and just having a blast. And so the next interesting thing that happened was when the pandemic hit. So I'll tell you, from someone that got wiped out in the real estate crash, I was as nervous as you can possibly imagine. And so like the quarantine and stay at home. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to lose this again? Am I going to like totally go broke again? And so, we negotiate with some vendors. We go to our staff. We had, and I'm just so, I'll get teared up thinking about it, but we had 4 of our staff reach out to us and say, hey, if you need to reduce our salary, we understand. I mean, who does that? Like that was incredible. And so we're just, oh my God. And so that first 2 weeks of the quarantine, like we are so nervous, and we're reducing expenses. We're cutting some of our marketing, but not all of it. And then it's like, wait a minute, we're being reached out to from companies we never hear from. So in 2 weeks, I did 75 Zooms for Italy, for Portugal, for where else was it? What's the term? Whatever. So different parts of Asia, Ireland, all over the world. I'm on these Zooms all day long, all throughout the night, and people are just like, hey, you know what? We hadn't embraced social media fully. We realized we need to. Can you help us? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so I did 75 Zooms in 2 weeks, and we actually 5 times our business in April. And what I mean is over the April last year. And so it was just crazy. It was just wild. And so, but now it's interesting because over the last 10 years, we've been teaching social media strategies, and there has never been a time where more people are interested in that exact thing right now. And so that's one of the reasons that we've structured our upcoming event in the way that it is. It's called the Social Media Super Summit. And we have brought together the best of the best of the best of the best. We have, Adventure Reach's own Pete Vargas going to be speaking there on how to get on more stages, virtual, and when the other stages start coming back. We have Shalene Johnson, who is one of the biggest Instagram influencers in the world. She's the only female to ever have 2 #1 producing infomercials. And I mean, she's just absolutely incredible. We have Tim Story, who was Oprah Winfrey's coach and was named the comeback coach by Robert Downey Jr. So, life goals, I hope to have a nickname from Robert Downey Jr. at some point in my life. But Marina Simone, Diane Hockman, Courtney Epps, we have so many amazing speakers with one goal. And that is how exactly to profit in today's marketplace on social media. And so, yes, there will be, I don't know exactly how much, but there will be some information that is 100% toward network marketing. But I would say 90% of it is going to apply to any business. So I know I have realtors going, I know speakers, authors. We have a lot of people that are attending that 3-day virtual experience event. And we hired the same team that worked with Tony Robbins and helped him with his big event. And so it's going to be, I'm going to be in front of all these screens, and I'm going to be, in an actual studio. And so it's a virtual experience. It's not, just a webinar or a Zoom or something like that, but we're really excited for it.
That's awesome. I mean, it's tailor-made for you guys. Like you said, you started out using social media and the internet. I love when you say you're the black sheep. I often like to say I was the black sheep that became the golden boy. It sounds like that's your journey as well. So we're getting towards the end, and I want to make sure that people know where they can find out more about the event and you. But first, I want to kind of close us out with hearing about another speaker or someone that inspired you along the way. You mentioned a couple of the books that you read and things, but was there any speakers that impacted you personally or professionally that really stood out along your journey?
Yeah, there's a couple that come to mind. I remember when I was really early in the game of being an entrepreneur. I was in real estate and I was running real estate events, and I ran across an old DVD of Marshall Silver, and I'm like, oh man, this guy is so good. And so, he really inspired me to be a better speaker. And then I remember the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th time that I heard Les Brown tell his "You Gotta Be Hungry" story. Gets me every time, just stirs up that fire, man. And so, I would say, I've seen a lot of amazing speakers. I'll tell you, when I first saw Tony Robbins, I was a speaker at an event, and then he was keynoting. And I'd seen some of his DVDs, I'd read some of his books. I'm like, yeah, he's good stuff, good, whatever. And so I was kind of coming in, I don't want to say a hater. I wasn't a hater, but I just didn't get it. And I think that that's everyone who's never seen him live. And so I see him live, and I'm not a get out of my seat, dance around kind of guy, but here I am dancing around and, going crazy. And so, I mean, Tony, tough to beat Tony. But I would say three that were very impactful. Marshall Silver, very early on. Les Brown, incredible. Love hearing him. And Tony Robbins.
Love that. Great people, and really about role modeling what they want the audience to feel and do. They do it themselves. They don't feel like they're goofy or silly doing it. They make you feel that way too. So thanks so much for joining us, Ray. How can people find out more about the event and about working with you or chatting with you?
Yeah, the event, it's at rankmakerslive.com. It's kind of a play on Rainmakers, but it's Rank, RANK, makerslive.com. That will tell you all you need to know about it. Hope to see you on there. And if you want to connect with me personally, I mean, I'm on most of the standard social media platforms, but we're pretty prevalent on Facebook. I do a free coaching Friday on there where you can ask questions, but just look up, Ray Higdon on Facebook and you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us, Ray, and thank you all for joining us inside the Green Room. I'm Blair Bryant Nichols, your co-host, and we've been live with Ray Higdon inside the Green Room in our Facebook group, Your Events Matter. So if you're a meeting planner, event organizer, please apply to join our group so you can join our next conversation live. You can find more episodes and catch up on anything you've missed if you look up Inside the Green Room with PB3 anywhere you listen to podcasts, and check out our free resources and our website, InsideTheGreenRoomPodcast.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.